there. What's up, everybody? I didn't do one of these little intros for last week's because I just didn't, and I didn't feel like it, and it is what it is, and you just got to deal with it. But this week, I wanted to come on and explain a couple things. Basically, this week we have a really cool podcast. I have a friend of mine who is in law enforcement who is willing to come on the podcast and kind of give some of his perspective on everything going on right now in our world. In such a crazy time as this, I felt like it was the responsible thing to do to have somebody who is maybe, as he later states, you know, we're all on the same team, and I agree with that. But I think to have somebody have a different perspective, maybe the other side of the coin, on to talk about some issues, I thought that would be something worth doing and a conversation worth having. I've been having a lot of people who have come on the podcast recently who are, you know, have great ideas on maybe what you would call the left of society. And I don't even know what his politics are, my friend who is an officer, but I just figured having somebody who is an officer, somebody who maybe could shed some light on protocol and things like that. We got into some really cool stuff on like what actually is protocol, what kind of training do you actually have for these types of situations, what kind of training do you think you should have. That was really cool. I really appreciated his honesty and his willingness to just talk about anything and everything. And I thought that was really cool and awesome of him to give his time. Most of the people who come on this podcast have something that they want to peddle or show or advertise or whatever. And he genuinely just wanted to come on because he wanted to talk about, you know, his career and what he loves to do and protecting and serving and how he does that, how his fellow officers do that. And yeah, man, it was a really interesting conversation. I think I'm going to have him on again sometime soon so we could just talk about more things. Interesting dude, interesting time. You will notice some edits during this podcast. It's for a couple different reasons. A couple are for his safety. We don't realize the amount of danger that these people put themselves in every single day, and certain parts of identity and stuff like that, especially online nowadays, it can be dangerous to put certain things out there. And since I know him and he's my friend and everyone he knows are also my friends, I wanted to keep them safe. And so there's certain things that we agreed to beforehand that I would edit out if it accidentally came up. So if you see any edits in that regard, that's probably what that is. And then also there's one large edit where he jumps from one part of the room to the other. And I thought it was so great because we were talking about officers being human beings on top of everything else. And he had to share the space with somebody else that he was currently in. And I thought that was funny. So he had to move. So there's probably going to be around 2 edits, maybe 3, where a couple of them are for safety, and one of them is just because practicality in this new Corona time that we live in which you have to have everything through Zoom and whatever. Anyways, this is getting really long, so we'll just go right into it. But I hope that you guys enjoy this conversation because I surely did. I had a really good time talking with my buddy, and it really got me to thinking about a lot of different things. So hopefully it gets you thinking too. All right. See you on the other side. Peace.
Once more. With feeling.
All right, we're live. Cool. You know what? Gosh darn it.
That's the biz, dude.
Dude, that's the biz, man.
That's the biz. Technical difficulties.
Dude, it really is. Okay, hang on. It's okay. No one wanted to see my face anyways. All right, cool. We were just talking about how like freaking Zoom is the new world order, and anyways, yeah, okay. I just got for some reason my camera just stopped right before I started going. It's so funny. It's like everything is always going right, and then all of a sudden I'll hit record, and then just one element of like all the different moving parts that I have going on will just crap out. But we're good, man. We're live. What's up?
What's going on, man? I'm excited to be here and excited to do this.
Me too, dude.
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of different people on lately, and I felt like since you and I know each other, I just felt like it would be the perfect opportunity to talk to somebody more or less direct to the source, right? And like,
Right.
I don't know. I'm glad you made time to sit down and chat and whatever. And you and I have been talking about it for like a minute now, so like off and on, just the world and the state of things and just talking in general lately. So I thought it'd be fun to sit down and have a conversation, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is like when you first invited me on this, I've seen your show and I was like, oh man, it'd be so cool to be on there. And just kind of talking about whatever, you know, no filter, whatever. And then I got your text message the other day and I was like, yes, this is it. This is my time.
Oh man, that's awesome. Thank you, man. Yeah.
I made it.
Yeah, you know, on this podcast that who knows who will see, but you know. Yeah, dude. And cheers. This is a early morning podcast. Yeah.
Yes.
So if I'm yawning, it's not at you. It's just in general. Like I said to you, this is the earliest I got up during quarantine. So,
now I know you love me.
it's true. You know what's crazy too is that like, so I was joking on the podcast how like, because I look so weird with nothing on my face, but I was joking on the podcast that I was gonna grow my beard until quarantine was over. And it's like, I mean, everybody's out doing whatever they want to do at this point. So
dude, like honestly, like my point, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little later, is I was deployed to one of the protests, and everybody, like thousands of people, you know what I'm saying, were there.
Yeah.
No masks, like, and I was like, you know what? I guess it's done. Like, I guess COVID's done all of a sudden.
It's crazy. It was so funny because I looked at this like Instagram post of like Gavin Newsom the other day, and he's like sitting down at a bench, and like, yeah, both guys are wearing masks, but they're not even close to 6 feet apart. It's like some random citizen and him, and he's the one who was like freaking out about everything, like basically locking everything down. And you know, however you feel about it, I don't even necessarily disagree with the measures or anything like that, but it's just like, wasn't that what we were doing about 10 seconds ago? I don't know, man. I don't know. A lot of people are upset though. So I mean, I get the concept of wanting to be out there and say something, but it does feel like what is happening? So you've been out there and you've seen people just kind of doing whatever they want to do, no real masks or anything like that?
I mean, yeah, honestly, there's still a lot of people with masks, but then there's a lot of people without masks because people see an opportunity, they seize it, and that's it. Like, they go with it, whether that means the looting or no masks. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like a lot of people have been talking about how they, you know, how it's almost feels like organized on a different level, the looting and stuff like that. Where it's like, because I was talking to some people in Long Beach, and they were saying like, dude, we don't, because people in Long Beach, it's one of those things where it's a really tight-knit community. Everyone kind of knows each other. As big as the city is, it's just one of those types of cities. And it's like, dude, everyone was like, who are these people? Like, no one seemed to know who was coming down and doing the looting and like all that stuff. And they're like, they pull up and it's super organized. Like they were saying, like somebody pulls up in a truck and whatever. And
it's kind of scary how at first, like, no one really thought about it because everyone's emotions are still high. But at the beginning, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just at a point where blinders were on. All they can see is this. And then all of a sudden, little by little, they start noticing, like you said, like, oh, this guy's not from around here. Or you'll start seeing posts like, oh, I recognize that guy. There was one that I guess some girl recognized the guy even though he had been covered up in like black and gas masks. But some chick was like, hey, that's my ex-boyfriend. Like,
no way.
He's a cop. Like, you know,
no way.
I don't know. I read something where the police department, I think it was like St. Paul or something like that. They already confirmed that it wasn't from a law enforcement officer from their department. But yeah, dude, like the biggest thing was the whole piles of bricks, random piles of bricks, dude, being laid out everywhere.
Dude, yeah, that's so. No matter who's doing that, like that's so dark, man. Like that's just you're asking for just the worst. You know, when you're trying to do that kind of stuff, it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many questions that probably will never be answered. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I honestly hope they do, because the one thing that
yeah,
I kind of want that to be answered, because a
Yeah.
lot of people, like, let's just say on the Black Lives Matter,
sure,
they're blaming it on the government and law enforcement,
Sure,
putting
yeah.
the bricks there. And then on, let's call it the All Lives Matter
yeah,
group, they're just saying like, oh, it's Antifa and all this. Like,
yeah,
okay, like I don't know who it is, honestly.
yeah.
It's crazy, dude. Like the fact that anyone would be doing that, laying
Right.
random
Right.
piles of bricks to
Just baiting. people.
entice,
Yeah.
to like make things even worse than what they already are. But
Yeah,
it's kind of scary, honestly. Like you said, how organized it feels now. It really does. But
yeah,
so, I mean, as you know, I work for the I work for law enforcement.
law enforcement. No worries.
And there's just a bunch of intel that we receive, like just things to look out for. And
Yeah.
it's confirmed, like, hey, yeah, this is very well organized by certain groups. And
Yeah.
more groups that are a little bit more radical, that
Yeah.
are promoting violence and looting and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's scary, man. It's scary. And also reading things from like people who were in special forces, SEAL teams, whatever, and reading
Yeah.
their posts saying like, it's scary and very sad to see like tactics that I was trained to use. I see them being used in these riots. So that kind of like showed them like, is it
Yeah.
organized by someone, or I don't know. They're kind of
So people are kind of saying that they're seeing, just to clarify that, they're seeing tactics that like maybe some sort of special forces unit like would be using for the looting, not on the police end.
no, not on the police end, like
Right,
on
like
the
people
looting
who
end.
are-
Like, okay, so Tim Kennedy, he
that guy.
I think he was like I don't remember. But he was on some type of special forces in the military.
Yeah.
I think it was the Rangers for the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And not the Rangers, whatever the special detail is for the Army.
worries,
Honestly,
dude.
I don't know.
I'm not fact checking you. It's fine. Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
sent out a post yesterday and was basically saying like, it really saddens me to see like some of the tactics that I was
Yeah.
trained for are being used to like, let me see if I can like pull it up real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
Tim Kennedy.
We don't have a Jamie, so.
Okay, so basically saying about what happened to George Floyd was terrible.
Absolutely.
He
That's the
hopes
crazy
everyone
part, right?
involved
Like,
sees justice. He also, I also believe that there are incredible men and women out there doing their best to serve and protect the public. I think it would be naive for anyone to not realize that there are outside influences now participating in this very emotional time in American history. Myself and thousands of other men like me have been uniquely trained in guerrilla warfare, unconventional warfare, insurgency, and counterinsurgency. We see tactics that we have been trained in being used currently throughout our nation, and it is breaking our hearts.
wow.
So, like, someone that has been trained on a higher level than everyone else in the United States,
Yeah.
they're going to easily pick up things because, so it starts with us. Like,
Yeah.
we, even basic training, we are taught and trained to just be vigilant, look out for certain things that we know, like, okay, hey, this could build. Let's kind of keep our eyes out on this. They for sure see that. They for sure see the same tactics that they were trained with, and like, it's scary, dude. Like,
Yeah.
to think that people like that on that level are even saying that there are influences out there that are creating all this.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is another level, man, and that's something that I'm glad you brought up. I guess some of the like training and stuff like that. I was curious as to like, I mean, everyone knows that like, you know, officers have to go through like some level of, I guess, I don't know. It's not like really like boot camp, right? But like something to that
Well,
extent.
it's like quasi military type training.
Right. Yeah.
We, at least our department, took us to one of the best academies in the nation. At least that's what everyone says.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
we are very similar to Marine boot camp, pretty much.
Oh wow.
6 months of hell, dude. Honestly, they
6
say
months.
it's the most fun that you never want to do again.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 6 months. That's a long time, man. Is that? I
Yeah.
feel like that is military style, because it's like, I feel like that's as long as my cousin was in. Because I have multiple cousins who are in the Marines, and my dad was a Marine and all that, and I feel like that's
Right.
like, yeah, 6 months is pretty much boot camp. I think 3
Yeah, I
months.
think it's
even.
like 4 to 6 months or something like that, depending
Yeah.
on the branch.
Yeah.
That's at least boot camp, and then from there it's just constant training for
Yeah, you never really
whatever
stop,
job
right?
that they're going to end up doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I imagine, like, depending on the type of thing that you're doing. I mean, so that's something that's I'm curious about too. I'm just trying to think of questions that people might want to ask somebody who's, on the other side of
Dude,
this thing.
please, I want to try to inform everyone
Yeah.
as much as possible, because sometimes I think that's what's the issue for a lot of conflicts, is just not really being educated about a certain topic. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I will
Absolutely.
give as much information as I can.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's something, like, I mean, you guys are constantly training, right? I mean, it feels like a job that you can't really ever stop.
Correct. So,
Training.
excuse me. We have skills that they call perishable skills, that if you don't use them or whatever, don't train in them, then they go away. So,
Yeah.
it depends on the type of training. Like firearms training, we are constantly training, because
Yeah.
we want to make sure that if there's a threat, we want to be able to eliminate the threat. We also have to be aware of our surroundings. So we are accountable for every single bullet that we fire. So if we fire at a threat and it like misses and goes and hits something else or someone else, God willing, that doesn't ever happen, then we are accountable for that. So that's definitely one skill. Like lethal weapons is another one, which it's lethal. For example, lethal weapon would be the biggest thing. And it's just so funny to me. This is one thing that I can try to clear up. The biggest thing right now, everyone's saying, is rubber bullets. Rubber bullets, in our department, I have not seen used ever.
Really?
What we use are they're called foam batons, and they're like this. Have you seen Jackass? Do you ever watch Jackass?
Yeah.
So there's an episode where Johnny Knoxville gets hit by like a beanbag in like the abdominal area.
Yeah.
We use beanbags, and we also use it's like a foam baton. Yeah, it comes at like a high velocity, so it's gonna hurt you, but it's not gonna kill you.
Sure.
Like,
for sure.
If you get shot in the head, the chances of it killing you are higher. But we are not trained to aim for the head unless that is the only lethal option that we have, and they are a lethal threat to us or to anyone else's life.
Right.
But yeah, we're trained in that. What else?
Yeah, I mean, that makes loads of sense. I mean, just like that is the last option, right? Is to aim for, because obviously, I mean, any head injury is going to be a head injury. That's always a thing. But like, so that is the training, though. That is the last steps.
Yes.
There. Yeah, which makes sense.
Our training, lethal force, is the absolute last. If we have the ability to try all the other options in our on our belt. I mean, not physically our belt, but we always start with like verbal. All right. So let's just say someone is erratic and aggressive, pretty much. We try to de-escalate the situation as much as we can. We're not going to fucking pull out our, we're not going to
you're good.
Pull out our guns and go like blazing, shooting all over the place just because some dude's being verbally aggressive.
Of course.
So this guy's being verbally aggressive. We're going to talk him down. We're going to try to de-escalate the situation using our verbal skills. You'll hear a lot called verbal judo. So we'll use verbal judo to try to de-escalate the situation. If that doesn't work, then we move on to like controlled force where maybe we grab the guy and hold on to him, and it's we could apply what is it called? Like can't think of what it's called right now. Like a pain compliance type move, which would be like a rear wrist lock or something like that, which just puts you in a position that are used in like mixed martial arts that it'll help them comply.
Yeah.
And in this situation, if we see he's got no weapons or nothing, we're not going to use any type of lethal force or anything like that. We're going to use force, our body weight, whatever, to bring him down. Taser, OC spray, which is like pepper spray. To try to do whatever we can to make him comply.
Yeah.
So like, let's change the situation a little bit. The dude has a knife and he's being erratic, and we're still going to use verbal warnings. This time, yes, we're going to come out with guns, only because there's an FBI study that at 21 feet away, they're able to get to you, stab you, kill you, whatever, injure you. So there's a 21-foot rule.
Wow.
And you can look it up that, yes, they're able to actually get to you with a knife. That's why we come with guns. Are we going to shoot him still right away? No. The only time that we are going to shoot him is, and I should say eliminate the threat, is if he's a harm to others, so other lives, or harm to us. And it's even within, we're going to verbally tell him, put the knife down.
Yeah.
And try to de-escalate the situation as much as we can.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people these days have the idea that, oh man, we want to go out there and we want to shoot.
It's just like chomping at the bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like honestly, dude, we all want a smooth shift.
Yeah.
We all want a shift where the best shift would be where we go out and there's like no calls. If there are calls, it could be like no reports written. Everyone's just getting along that day. But when you get to a point where there is a situation like that, well, we still got to do what we got to do. We're going to handle the situation. Yeah. But really, like, we don't want to fire our weapons. We don't want to go through like people losing lives, like honestly, because it's a headache, because it doesn't just involve that guy's life being ruined. If his life was taken, it affects everyone. It'll affect the officer because, dude, we're not robots. You just
of course,
you just shot and killed someone, and you got to go home and you got to deal with that. You got to go to therapy. There's an investigation on you, but then also the victim. That was, let's just say it was a male. That was a father, a brother, an uncle.
Yeah.
Someone. Everyone's life's ruined. So it's not like we go out there and want to like just ready to start shooting.
Yeah.
But there are steps before we get to lethal force that we absolutely have to take, that we are required to take. Our head guy, he basically, our sheriff, he came out with a post, and he basically laid out all our policies, because I guess there's like there's some 8 something.
Oh, the 8 can't wait. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I thought would be interesting. Yeah.
So, and he like one by one, he described what our policies are and how they reflect from that. And the one thing that he did change was everyone's calling it chokehold. We don't train in any chokeholds. It's called the carotid control technique, which we do use to.
It just sounds so like I don't know, so like specific, like, but I'm sure it is specific. It just sounds like surgical, like the carotid control.
Yeah, it does, and I mean it sounds a whole lot better than chokehold. It's just more of a non-lethal way to like control a subject.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's one of those things where I think that a lot of people, it's just, with tensions being high and everybody wanting something to be done, I feel like people often forget, and this is something I've said multiple times on the podcast, even just the one that came out on Wednesday. You know, people forget that you guys are out there seeing the worst of the worst, and that's not like that's not fun, or like you said, the goal, or like
No.
most people forget it's like you guys have a shift, and like you want to go home and see whoever it is you got at home, and like that's the goal, just like everybody else's goal. And like on top of that, you guys take an oath to protect and serve, and like that's what you're gonna do if you have to do it. But that's not the goal every time you go out there. Like you're not a mad dog chomping at the bit. Like
No,
you're a human being.
and don't get me wrong. There are some guys. There are absolutely some guys in law enforcement. I've seen them in my department that are like that.
Yeah.
And I wish there were better strategies to filter that out, honestly. Because it's guys like that absolutely tarnish my badge.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is it tarnishes everybody's badge in the nation. Just
with the way that media is now. Yeah.
That one dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you know, that's something that I thought was really cool, and one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on, because I feel like, I know. I mean, you were literally probably one of the first people to talk to me, and when we were talking about stuff, to shout this down, to basically say like this guy was wrong. You know, I'm talking about George Floyd now, obviously. It's kind of hard not to. You know, you were one of the first people to even mention that to me, and you were even talking about his partners right away, just saying like before anyone was even calling for anything like that, you were just like, you know, these guys, like, you know, we're out there to help each other, you know, and like they should have said something to this guy. And I thought that was like just really cool of you to say right away, you know, like without anyone prompting, no one's saying anything, you know, it's just like, I don't know.
That's what we're trained to do. You know what I'm saying? Like we're trained to not only look out for our citizens, because that's what we're sworn to do, but also our partners, because if we don't, we're letting them down.
Yeah.
They also have families that if they do something wrong and we don't speak up, they're going to get investigated. They're going to possibly get fired. They got families. It's just more lives ruined that way too. And I've had partners. If I were there, at least I say that I would have done something. That's just because I know myself. And when there's something, that's why I've been so verbal on Instagram and stuff. When there's something I don't agree with, I will say it. But so there was an incident where a group of my partners all got in trouble because an incident happened between another guy and two guys, one being a guy in our department, and something should have been reported and it wasn't. And all of a sudden they found out about it, and boom, like they were all on admin leave. And like if someone would have said something, it would have all been avoided. If someone would have said, hey, we need to tell someone about this incident, we need to report this incident, then it would have gone a lot better than what it did. And
nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud, exactly. And it's stuff like that we want to try to avoid at every time. And seeing that whole video, like when I first saw his, I don't even know the guy's name. I don't even want to say his name. It's a disgrace. But
I don't know.
Saw that ex-officer's knee on the guy's neck. I automatically knew, okay, that's absolutely not approved. I know it's not approved in our department, and I'm almost positive it's not approved in any type other departments.
Yeah. How could it be? Yeah.
I will say this, like, because I saw another video of an officer during the riots where he had his knee on one of the suspect's neck, and you hear the guy recording like, hey, get your knee off his neck, get your knee off his neck. And the other partner like looks and he grabs his knee, takes it off. I understand in a situation like that, when there's so much stuff going around you, you're not thinking maybe your knee accidentally was on his neck. I don't know, but it was absolutely amazing to see the partner grab the guy's knee and just take it off and put it where it was supposed to be. We're trained to just put it on their back, not even on their spine, just somewhere on on the opposite side of the spine.
Just to have an awareness of where they are, I imagine, because it's like, as you're trying to subdue somebody, I don't know the terminology, but you're trying to subdue somebody, I imagine you got to like, it's like having a hand on them, basically. Like, I know where you are, kind of thing. And,
yeah.
Dude, it's so hard. It's one of those things where, again, like, it's just nobody, I don't think a lot of people want to give it the credit of just like, you guys are out there, like, just having to do the hard thing, and
yeah.
Again, like, the thing that's so tough about a lot of this is that, like, it's so easy to play Monday morning quarterback, and there's certain things where it's very, very obvious when like it's happening, it's wrong, right? Like the George Floyd thing, there's 3 other guys there, the guy's already on the ground, 8 minutes. Right. I mean, that's everyone can kind of see that and be like, duh. But like everyone. Including officers, obviously, we're sitting here talking about it, and it's like everyone can sit there and say that it's wrong because it's easy. It's very easy and clear cut. I think
plain sight. Yeah, there's no like, oh, it's only 30-second video clip. Like, no. Even officers absolutely can agree with everything that happened. If you don't, you're an idiot. Honestly.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's just like, but then everyone wants to go back and nitpick every single interaction they've ever had, and like people have talked about 100 times, it's like, you guys go into a traffic stop, you never know what you're gonna, what's on the other side of that, and it's something that I don't think people give enough credit to. Like, that would be just, I can't even imagine. Obviously, that's why I don't do it. But like, I can't even imagine the amount of stress that's got to be every single time you go out on a shift. It's like
every shift, and you can kind of say this about anything. Like, every day you go out of your house could be your last day, but the chances are a lot higher because, like you said earlier, we are dealing with like the low of the lows, I guess. Yeah. Well, are we getting calls out for
giving you a cupcake. People wanting to,
yeah. That's all I want is a cupcake.
911. I have a cupcake for officer. Yeah, it's like, come on, yeah.
Ma'am, I will be there. Lights and sirens. Like, I'm going there quick.
Lights and sirens.
I want that cupcake.
Yeah, man.
But what I wish people understood, and that's why I encourage everyone, if they have the opportunity, to go on a ride along so you can feel that stress and you can feel that realization that, oh shoot, like, this could be my last day.
Yeah.
Like, when I first went on a ride along, I was interested in going into law enforcement already, but it never really sunk in, like, how serious the situations can get.
Yeah.
So I went to a city that's fairly busy, and I was sitting there, no vest on, just kind of in my suit, and we get a call to this. I think he was on probation or something like that. He was violating probation or something like that. But this was a hardcore gang member. I'm talking tattoos all over his face. And I got to see him after the situation, but I sat there in the car. I was like, dude, like, if things go wrong, like, I'm not even a cop yet. Like, this could be my last day.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the officer's like, hey, come with me. Because what they were doing is they were sneaking. The guy was in the back of the house. He had like a trailer set up in the back of the house.
Wow.
And they were just like, hey, just come with us. So they had 2 officers set up on the backyard fence, so in case he tried to jump the fence, they got him there. And then it was me and the officer I was with going through the front of the house and then crossing through the side of the house to go to the backyard. And that is when I realized, like, also, like, man, like, do I want to do this? And then I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. Like, there was just something in me that I was like, whatever happens, but this job needs to get done. So first the officer goes in and they all do their thing. I hear fighting and stuff going on.
Sure.
And then I hear my name, and then I go back there, and then that's when I got to see, like, the dude. He's, like I said, hardcore looking dude.
Yeah.
With 2 other chicks there. Who knows what they were doing, but it helped me realize, like, the stresses that law enforcement goes through, and they can't be like,
I don't feel like it today.
Yeah, I don't feel like this today. I'm going to let this guy go because who knows what that guy is going to do tomorrow. Like, how would you feel if you were just like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to handle this guy today. Yeah. I'll handle him tomorrow. All of a sudden you get a call, there's a murder, and then it was a guy that you didn't catch. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you had the opportunity to catch. Like it'll haunt you for sure.
That's the whole Spider-Man Uncle Ben story right there, man.
Yeah, exactly,
I mean, that's it right there. I mean, it is like, dude, and people want to talk about my comics and say that I don't learn nothing. And you know what? You learn vital life lessons.
A lot.
No, but that's exactly it, man. I mean, you guys, I know, like firmly, I still hold that with everything going on, like you guys are heroes at the end of the day. You guys do the hard job so I can have a silly podcast, you know, like it's never lost on me. And like, it's one of those things where it is an impossible job. And I can't imagine going through every single day and not like people make mistakes. And I think that was such a cool thing that you had talked about right off the bat was the partner thing, and talking about how that's like you guys are meant to look out for each other, and how like even when it's like you guys are meant to look out for each other, not just in a firefight, but just in every step of the way. Like even when you're taking somebody down, you already have them on the ground, like and it's so true. Like people like I think we even had a back and forth on this. It's like, you know, you're seeing a lot of stuff, and like at one point it's like, you know, you got to be seeing red. There's no way you can't get mad at some point, you know, like
Absolutely.
Like people are people, and like that's like you said, like I think you even mentioned one time you're like, you know, my partners even told me, hey, let me take this one, you know, because you just kind of saw where you're at, you know, and like that little ebb and flow, like that's got to be invaluable out there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% believe in officers getting jaded.
Yeah.
People are aware that military, when they go out to tours and then they come back, there's PTSD. Same thing in law enforcement, except this is your job now. Like
that's
you
your 9
can't
to 5.
Your 4 years and then be like, okay, like I'm out of here.
You can transfer to whatever.
Every day you're dealing with some sort of event that's gonna affect you.
Yeah.
And you will start seeing red. And like you mentioned, there was a situation where I was getting to the point where I was like, hey, like foggy minded, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't seeing clearly. My partner was like, hey dude, I'll take this from here. I was like, okay, I know what he's doing. Cool. Like take over.
Yeah.
So then that way I don't get in trouble, and I can continue this career that I love to do.
And it just gets handled, you know, it gets handled in a better situation because you guys are back and forth and like that. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just like.
No, you're absolutely right. There's just a lot of situations where people need to step in. But the other thing too that people need to understand is sometimes, even though we all need to do this, because I strongly believe that everyone needs to step in, sometimes it's just really hard. Like the situation I was talking to you about earlier where some of my partners got in trouble for not saying anything. It was a situation where they were newer. And sort of similar to what happened in the George Floyd, I heard the incident. I heard those officers were like newer. They were just off probation or something like that. And you kind of start thinking like, oh, like this guy is my superior. Should I say something? Should I step in? Like, is he going to get upset at me?
Yeah.
Am I going to be shunned by the whole department because I stepped in and I'm going to look like a coward or something?
Sure.
It's stuff like that you really start thinking about. And while you're thinking about that, you're not doing anything. So then time goes by and it's like, like maybe the worst already happened.
Right.
So you start doubting yourself. You really do. Cause I've been in situations like that where I'm like, ooh, I don't think that should happen. And unfortunately, like, I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad, and you know, nothing bad ended up happening.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's way easier said than done, especially when you're right there in the situation. You train so hard, you talk about every day that I'm going to do this if this situation happens. Once, and we've all been through this, once the situation actually happens, it's way different. Like Mike Tyson, I think it was Mike Tyson said something like, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. All of a sudden, dude, you're
That's
like,
so true, man.
What's my plan? Oh, you know, like then you start like losing everything. But that's why you train as hard as you can to train through stressful situations and maintain that. But it's way easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's something that I'd be interested in asking you too, is like, do you feel like there's, you know, with all this conversation around, you know, like defunding police and things like that, I'm sure you knew I was going to get there at some point, but I saw that head and I'm like, yeah. No, and it's important. And like, with all the conversations around that, you know, I'm sure you have your own perspective on it, and I don't want to taint it with anything, but do you think that, like, you know, as an introductory question to this, like, do you think that there's any, like, for as much as they talk about defunding, like, do you think there's anything that you guys could maybe, in your opinion, train up on better? Like, is there something, I mean, obviously there's always something you could work on, right? But do you see any gaps where you'd be like, you know what, maybe if we had an extra week of training on X, or, you know, or whatever, or maybe it's whatever your thing is, I don't know.
Absolutely, dude. Like, the more training, the better. You get what you pay for. So whatever the amount of money you put into anything, and right now it's obviously law enforcement that people are talking about.
Sure.
That's what you're going to get. Like,
I
don't think people understand that a lot of law enforcement these days are underfunded. And then they want to take more money away from them and think that it'll help law enforcement. I think when they say that, they feel like if you put more money into education and this and that, then that's going to help people, and then there's going to be call for less policing. But training in our field is absolutely necessary. I feel like training, when we do have this, but I would love even more de-escalation type training, crisis negotiation type training. We have a crisis negotiation team that deals with critical incidences that need to be dealt with, like hostage, or maybe this guy's wants to jump off a bridge or something like that. We have teams like that, but I really feel like if we had more training on that, more officers or deputies trained in stuff like that, then that would help so much. And in mental health, how to deal with mental health type issues, because that is huge these days. The drug abuse in this country, I was going to say like county, and then I was like, no, city, state, whatever. Like,
it just started expanding in your mind.
It went up to in our country, dude, is horrible. And people obviously get addicted, their brains get fried, and then they start developing schizophrenia, or they're bipolar or something. And then we get out there and we have situations where this guy's schizophrenic, and when you're schizophrenic or you have some type of mental health issue, like, your body language is very like kind of aggressive,
erratic.
So then we feed off that, and if there's an officer that maybe hasn't dealt with that situation, is going to be a little more nervous than the officer that has more time on. And that's when you get situations where he possibly took, like, the guy was reaching in his pocket, and even though he was, I don't know, twitching or something, and wanted to pull out a gun or something, and then get shot, but then ends up not having a weapon. Like, we need to learn how to spot, like, people with mental illness, or have possible mental illness, or some type of learning disability, because, like, you're going to have people who are autistic, who like, sometimes these autistic kids or men, like, they're big and they can look aggressive, and it looks as if they are high on drugs sometimes, you know, straight up. And they're not. They're just autistic, and they're just kind of looking around, doing their thing, and not listening to commands or whatever. And we need to learn how to deal with that a whole lot better. So it's stuff like that we need to start training more, because that's the direction the world is going. Unfortunately, is there are people using and abusing drugs more, and mental illness is a serious thing that we need to learn more about and learn how to deal with.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a really cool thing for you to say, and like in a good insight, because I think that one of the big things that everybody wants to talk about when they talk about like the defunding of the police is like, well, we could put that money towards mental illness and things like that, helping people out. And the thing is that like when you look at it like that, it's like, oh, it's hard to like disagree with, right? Because you're like, I want to help people, right? You want to help, and because it's saying, well, I want to take it from here and put it to here to help people.
I do too.
But exactly, that's exactly what I was going to get to. Is you don't think that the officers? I mean, most officers want to help people. And I think that's a huge thing, because like if you got like if you guys maybe had more. I'm not trying to paint broad strokes, but like, if you guys have more training in that, like that, maybe you would feel more capable of I mean, and like you said, an officer who's maybe seen it 100 times, they've learned their ways of dealing with it. But like a new guy, like you said, like maybe he doesn't have the capacity to deal with somebody who's schizophrenic. I mean, like you said, like it's so erratic, some behavior and stuff like that. You never really know what's going to happen. And
right.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one. And like you said, you can't do that with less funding. You need more in a sense to do that kind of thing. And you get what you pay for. That's a true maxim in everything in life. And it's funny how I didn't even think about that for this type of for this application until you said it. And it's true. It's just like, it's true, man. I mean, you're gonna get what you pay for.
Yeah, and I wish people understood that more. Also, the word defund, like if you look up the word and Google it, the definition is pretty much saying to absolutely stop funds.
Which is insane.
So
no cops would be chaos. I mean, that's just like
when you say defund the police, the way I take it is stop funding the police. Cool.
Yeah. No worries. All right. At some point in there, I'll cut back to us, but it's no worries. Life happens. It just proves that that officers are human beings, right? You have a life outside of outside of the force.
Exactly.
Man.
Sometimes we just gotta adjust.
Yeah.
Adapt and overcome, as we like to say.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. And so we were talking about just like better funding or spending funds in a different way. And you were talking about defunding. When you hear that, you were saying that like
okay, let me look up the definition of defund, right?
Yeah, no worries.
And I was actually talking to a friend about this, because that's all I'm seeing is defund the police, the police.
Yeah.
And according to Oxford Dictionary, defund means prevent from continuing to receive funds.
Yeah.
So in my mind, when someone says to defund the police, they are preventing from continuing to receive funds.
Yeah.
So I've been saying like, hey, why not use? Because what they're saying is like, well, what defund police means is like basically reallocate money, like take funds from police and move it somewhere else. And I was like, well, why not just say like reallocate the money?
Yeah, exactly.
Because now what you're trying to do is you're trying to change the definition of defund. It has a definition that
everyone's going to have a knee-jerk reaction to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, why?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, I don't know, who knows, man? I don't really know, but I imagine part of it is probably for the knee-jerk reaction. I mean, when you get like no, and then like, like people are going to talk about it more, and people are going to pass the message around.
That's very true. That is very true.
Radical thinking, I think people like to push that around a little bit more because it's interesting, right? Even though it's not practical. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, when people have described it to me, like the defunding the police thing, like the way my buddy had described it to me, he was like, well, because he's very liberal and whatever, and I fall somewhere libertarian, man. I mean, I feel like 9 times out of 10 we should leave people alone and just let them do what they want to do with their stuff and money and time. But there's certain things you can't do that with, like police force. And like, you know, there's certain things that we all agree that we're all better off with, and that is part of it is that. And one of the things he was saying though was like, what if you took some of the money from here and helped, like exactly what you said, not completely getting rid of police force, but just taking some money from one area and moving it to another area to help people with mental health. Because he's like, imagine if you eradicated homelessness, with the amount of money you could get rid of. He's like, you would have a lot less calls, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. But like, it's one of those things where it's always, what is the policy? Where is the money actually going? What are we actually going to do with that?
Right.
And honestly, personally, I always find that like 9 times out of 10, you give the government some money, they don't use it well. Like, it just depends, like it's just,
I agree.
It's just so dependent on what type of policy you're trying to push, where that money's actually going to go, what type of outreach are you actually looking at. And again, the reality and all of that is to say, like, the reality of like you're saying, the definition of defund the police, get rid of the police. I'm hearing that a lot now too. Like, oh, we don't need them. We're better off without them. It's like, okay, dude.
Now they're saying abolish the police, and it's like,
it's insane.
Okay,
it's like all right, dude, go 1 week, like a day, one day without police would be like, I mean, dude, people would explode.
That'd be so crazy.
And it's so crazy. And one of the things that that I've heard some people talk about too, that actually was really eye opening and very true, is that a lot of these places where the looting and the rioting was the worst, was where basically we're finding out now that some of them had orders where they were like, basically some officers essentially had orders where they were like, just stand down unless it's like absolutely like somebody's currently like dying in front of you, like stand down, because we just need to like the mentality was like, just let them get it out of their system. And it just got worse. It just got so much worse. And like, to sit there and like, I don't know, like that in and of itself is a perfect example. Like, all the rioting and the looting is a perfect example of just like, that's what happens when you don't have anybody there or don't have somebody to do it. And then right when they started cracking down, more things started slowing down, like in areas where they actually were going, okay, we're going to actually show our presence again, and do our jobs. Right. Like, immediately started slowing down.
There has to be some type of law enforcement. Like, there has to be. And
yeah, I think that's the thing. Antifa wants that, right? Like chaos, like anarchy, like that's. I'm not pointing at anybody specifically, but it's just, I'm sure, whatever. But
yeah, dude, it's evil exists in this world.
Yeah,
there's no way. Like, I understand one group wants to live in a world full of unicorns and rainbows and butterflies and stuff like that, but evil exists. Whether you believe in science, you're a Christian, Catholic, doesn't matter. Evil exists. You see people killing people. You see people, unfortunately, messing around with little kids in inappropriate ways. It's just, it is what it is. So you need to have, again, law enforcement to bring some type of order.
Uphold the standard,
uphold the law and hold these people accountable. And people are saying like, well, we can do that without law enforcement. We can do that with like community groups and stuff like that.
Can you?
But I don't know, man. I don't think that's gonna it's gonna turn out well. Even so one thing that I see, and it kind of reminded me, like, people want their own law enforcement, their own community, blah blah blah. So it kind of reminded me of like Indian reservation. They are their own, like communities. If I'm not mistaken, from what I was told one
their
time,
own country,
like,
technically,
the chief leaders actually pick who they want to be law enforcement officers and whatnot. So if it's something like that, okay, like I can kind of see it's obviously done already, but how, and I don't know, I'm asking, like, how healthy are those communities? I hear nothing but negative things about those communities and like the issues that they have. And when I was looking up the FBI stats the other day, like there was still a good amount of Native Americans that were involved in like murder or incarcerated or So,
well, I've heard also there's unfortunately a lot of alcoholism. I don't know what the reasons behind that or what But that just goes to show you that, like, even with that type of system, you still have similar problems to what we have, which is, like you said, like we were talking about earlier, like mental illness and drug issues, whether it's alcoholism. Right. Alcohol is a drug just like anything else. And yeah, I mean, that's interesting though. I mean, the crazy thing is that the Native American land is, like, it's literally its own country in our country, which is kind of nuts to, like. Yeah. There was so nuts. My dad was telling me about a story about, he knew this guy who was a process server. And so basically what it is, like, you know how they always have those things in movies where it's like, you got served, right? Like, you know, so, like, literally that's this guy. So this guy goes on an Indian reservation to serve somebody who was in some sort of lawsuit, right? And so they go, you got served, right? To this, I forget who it was, but literally they go, okay, hang on one second. And he calls the Indian reservation police. I don't even know what you call it. I guess I don't want to say Indian police because that sounds super messed up. But, like, whatever, their police force. And
they're law enforcement.
that guy gets arrested and thrown in jail. And they say you have to pay his bail. And the thing is because they don't go by our rules. You can't serve them. You cannot serve somebody on an Indian reservation because they're a foreign land. That. They're a foreign land, so it's a completely different thing. Like, you can't. So that process server had to get his bail paid. Instead of them actually, like, because they were suing the people on the reservation, instead of them ended up suing them, what ended up happening, they had to just pay their bill to get their process server out. So they ended up losing money on that deal.
In the butt, dude. That sucks.
Yeah, it's just so crazy I mean, and honestly, like, I'm not sitting here saying that shouldn't exist, but it's something that I don't think people, like, wrap their minds around sometimes, that it is literally another country in our country, you know, like, which is so odd.
And I'm curious if that's what people are looking for, like Black Americans, if they're looking to be their own community, like, I don't really think so. It kind of seems like they're fighting. They just want to be treated equal. And, which I believe in too, man. Honestly, like, it would be a perfect world if that were the case. But unfortunately, because evil exists, you're gonna have things like racism. You're gonna have people, maybe if they're not racist, but they don't do their job right in law enforcement because something happened to them in the past, and now they're just taking it out on whoever they want. Like, there's just evil, and I personally feel as long as we educate our kids, because our kids are our future, we can help minimize things like that. But I really don't think it'll ever go away, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's like everybody's got their prejudices, and that's the thing that I think that's the thing that a lot of people are talking about that is starting to finally hit home for me, is like, I mean, we're both Hispanic men, you know, or, you know, right. There's a lot of prejudices against us, you know, and so I think that it's something. I mean, I'm going to be honest. So I'm so passing white, and I'm so whitewashed that I've never had that. I'm not even going to pretend I've ever had those issues. My parents might have, you know, and my dad's told me multiple stories about, like, you know, his dad didn't speak the language very well, and I'm literally first generation born here, and you know, my dad was born in Cuba, but he spoke English, and his parents didn't, and so a lot of times they would go to, like, government appointments, and, like, he would be translating. You know, he'd be sitting. He's like 8 years old or 6, you know, whatever it is, and just translating for his parents, and you know, and he's told me about some racist encounters that he's had and stuff like that with things like that as a kid, and it's everybody's got their prejudices though. But even then, like, I've heard Hispanic people who are just as racist as the rest of them. You know, it's unfortunate. Bro, everybody's got their thing. You know, like,
seriously, and it's. We need, if people need to start bringing that up, and I have seen groups bring that up. Yeah. But, like, some of the Hispanics are, like, the most racist people that I've encountered, and I hate it. Like, in Mexico, where my family's from, I have a cousin who's darker.
Sure.
And she was getting bullied and stuff by other Mexicans just because she's darker. Like, there's obviously history that goes back with the whole, like, if you're lighter or whatever, like, we were more beautiful and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, man. In the criminal world, they segregate themselves, dude. Like in the jails, you got homies / Southsiders, and prison as well.
Sure.
You got Woods, which is short for Pecker Woods, which represent all the white guys.
Oh wow. Never heard that.
The homie Southsiders and Woods technically can live together. But then you have brothers and others. So you're going to have the brothers, which are black,
Sure.
Polynesian, Middle Eastern, Asian.
That's so wild.
And dude,
it's so arbitrary, those lines. Like, that's
like
so insane.
The culture, dude, is just a whole different world that people don't understand. But like if we want to prevent issues from happening, like the way it used to be, we actually changed it, was housing brothers and others with each other, and homies and Woods like with each other. And because there's a different department that's like started slowly changing that up, what we did is in a cell there's like 2 men's cells.
Yeah.
So we still aren't housing like a brother and a homie together.
Okay.
But let's just say there's 4 cells in a row that live next to each other. Those 4 cells are considered a group. And before, that whole group would have just been either homies and Woods or brothers and others. So now what we're doing is we're housing like 2 brothers in 1 cell, homies in 1 cell, Woods in another, and then we're laying them all out as a group. When we did that, dude, it was such a change. There were so many fights in the jails.
Really?
We were just constantly running the fights, dude. But now the cool thing is, like, okay, like, homies, brothers, and Woods are all, like, having day room, which is like a time when they can just all watch TV, hang out, tables, phone calls, all this different stuff. But it was...
what a dynamic. That's so, and it's unfortunate that, anyway, I don't want to cut you off, but like it's so crazy. And so did you feel like that eventually got any better, or do you feel like I mean, I don't know if you're still even where you are, and I don't want to give it
got better for sure. Like I said in the beginning, there was fights all the time because it's just different worlds. Yeah. They colliding. They even tell me like, hey man, like I have no issue with this guy. Yeah. But I can't be here because politics and culture, I have to fight this guy. It was like, wait, what?
It's crazy.
You know that you
literally politics.
You have no issues, but you have to do it. But in their world, dude, they have to do it. If they don't follow through, then they're gonna have a bigger group of their own guys be like, okay, you didn't follow through, so guess what? Now you're a target. Right. We got the hit on you now.
Safety in numbers type thing. So, and they'd rather be on the inside of something than on the outside of everything.
So what they do now is they've learned to like live together. And if there's any issues, they kind of have their own little chiefs, dude. They're like, okay, hey, like they'll go talk to their rep, as they call it, and they'll be like, hey, dude, this and this is happening. Before we take care of it, we want to bring it up to you. So can your people take care of it? And they'll take care of it within themselves. They'll talk to them, whatever. If their own people have to handle it, which means beat them up, then they'll do that. Like,
that's so wild, man. Just the amount of, and it's so funny because like you said, like obviously it's something you are so privy to as an officer, and it's so you have to swim in that world, you know. And so you have to know these different rules and things that like shouldn't apply but do. And like it's so funny because as somebody like who's wildly on the outside of all of that, like you hear those lines like brothers and others, it's like, or it's like how is it that like Asians and like Polynesians and black people, that's okay, but having a Latino and a black person like that I just can't, like, you know, like to you it was such like, oh yeah, I know that's the line, but like to me I would be like I would never be like, why is that the line?
Like I said, dude, it's a whole different world. They police each other. The best way to make your shifts as smooth as possible when you're working in the jails is respect. Like that is the big biggest thing culture is respect. So listen, I respect what you're doing, what you guys have to do or whatever. I don't agree with it. I can't have that on my shift. So like, don't do it, or else this is gonna happen. Or if there's dude, you have to have respect for the world that they live in order to understand it. And same goes with them. They know that, hey, we got a job to do. They know it's a game. So dude, there's so much.
The whole thing's a game.
Drugs in the jails, dude. Like,
that's so messed up.
You have no idea. Like, people will. This is how they manipulate the situation, kind of make a job out of it. Yeah. So there's guys that got in trouble for, I don't know, something of a low crime that doesn't require to do a lot of time. Let's just say it requires them to do a month.
Sure.
They do their month. They're on probation. They go out in the world. They get all their drugs, whatever. And then they need more money. So what they do is they'll get a good amount of drugs, put it up their butt. Dude,
I believe it. Yeah.
Like, it is what it is.
Prison
I guess,
pocket,
like I said, it's their world. So they'll go violate their probation.
Yeah.
And then they know they're going to go do, like, I don't know, a week, for example.
Sure.
So they'll go in there. If they don't get caught with the drugs, because not every time they get caught, they'll go in there and start selling the drugs inside, and drugs inside are 10 times more than what they would be worth on the outside.
Yeah.
So you got these dudes like coming in and
just drug dealing in prison, man. That's
doing their thing. Yeah, dude. And I'll see it, and then we'll try to go. Our goal obviously is try to stop that.
Of course.
So if we see, or if we think that there's a drug deal or drugs being passed, as best as we can, we'll try to go intercept that.
Yeah.
And it's just funny that, like, if we catch them and we like take money from them, they don't even get mad. Like, they're just like, hey, we get it. It's a game. Like, they know that they need to do a better job hiding it from us or something. So it's like, they're like, hey, no, like, no worries, Dep, like, or what, officer or whatever. It is what it is. We get it. And then we got to look into their cells, and then we got to look everywhere. So we do thorough searches of their cells, and like, sometimes messes are made because we have to be very thorough in where we look, because they are so creative in where they hide their stuff once they bring it inside. And that they're like, hey, man, no worries. And like, our side, for respect, like personal things like photographs of their wife, kids, or whatever, I'm gonna put that aside, and I'm not even gonna touch that. Letters and stuff, I gotta look through letters, because what they'll do sometimes is like soak paper in I forgot what kind of drug that they soak it in, and they'll eat it.
That's
they'll
wild,
put
dude. That's wild.
Suboxone, and they'll put it on like paper and stuff, or dip it, and they'll lace the paper. They'll just eat that stuff. I had a couple of dudes like overdose.
Whoa.
Like eating
because there's no way to dose that. You don't know where it is. Yikes, dude.
So we got to look through everything, but they understand too. Like, hey, we know, like, we get it.
Yeah, like, that's part of the game. That's crazy, man.
Whole new world, dude.
A whole new world. That's not exactly what Aladdin meant, but yeah, dude. Dude, that's so wild, man. I don't know. It's just listening to all that and hearing all of that just lets me, as like an average Joe citizen, just realize the complete lack of knowledge base that I would have on just all of that. Like, just the cultural part that you were talking about alone, like the fact that they, again, just the arbitrary lines in race and dynamic and like all that stuff. It's just like, there's so much stuff that you have to swim in that, like, I wouldn't have even thought about, And like you said, you wish it wasn't a thing. You wish you weren't even paying attention to it, but because other people pay attention to it, you have to pay attention to it.
Absolutely. It's something that we have to be aware of, because if you don't understand, you don't think like them, then it's going to be harder to catch these guys. Like, you've heard the line, like, you have to like catch a criminal, you have to think like a criminal.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
criminal
saying?
minds,
So
right? Yeah.
we have to, especially working with these type of people, we have to learn the culture and again respect the culture, because we talked about how these guys, like for instance the Mexican Mafia or Aryan Brotherhood, they have people, friends in places that they shouldn't, but unfortunately they do, that can have access to personal information and stuff like that. That you know, hey, like this is what's going on, but let's meet somewhere in the middle. Like, you got to respect their thing that they do, and even though you don't agree with it, and there's certain things that absolutely you just don't agree with, and you just can't let slide or anything like that, like murder, or if they like try to harm another like inmate or another person, whatever, like can't let anything like that slide.
It's weirdly like I think I said earlier, it's like you're swimming in a whole other world, you know, where it's like you have to navigate that world, and like you said, whether you agree or disagree with whatever's going on, it's like you still gotta make your way through and make sure that, and the less toes that you step on, the less collateral damage, I imagine, is incurred.
But it's just so hard, dude, because this is a career that you are literally walking on eggshells. It's the only career that I know that if one person does something bad, the whole career field is bad. Like you get doctors, and you get
that was just
school teachers that are sexual predators. You know what I'm saying? They are pedophiles. Are all school teachers bad? No. It's just that one individual that law enforcement went and arrested, took them in, and teachers are cool. Doctors malpractice. Like I forgot the amount of people doctors kill.
I've heard it. It was staggering. It was a lot.
And people have said, well, but you guys have people's lives in your hands, and so doctors don't. Teachers don't have our future like lives in their hands. Like they teach kids, and now they ruin some kid or whatever. But we take it, dude. We take all the criticism and all the verbal beatdowns and physical beatdowns and killings of officers.
And you're still there.
I guess like we're still here, dude. Like we still got to do what we got to do.
And you answer the call when somebody else, when somebody calls it, regardless of how they feel about you. I saw this one crazy. It was so funny, dude. I was, dude, I'm on TikTok, and it's my new addiction. And like I was on there, and it was so like it was sad but funny at the same time. It was basically this guy. He posted this video of like these people who were trying to loot a store, and they're trying to loot a store, and this guy comes up. And he comes up with a chainsaw. Literally has a chainsaw, dude.
I saw that.
Did you see it? And he was defending his own store. So he was defending his own store. He walks, just for people who don't know, but he's defending his own store. He walks in front of his own store with a chainsaw. So he's just standing in his ground, but he's just like, "Hey, get out of here, get out of here," type thing. And the craziest part is the looters ended up going like. Whoa, somebody call the cops. Somebody call 911. It's like, dude. And then the guy with the TikTok's like, wait, can we roll that back? And like replays like, somebody call 911. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah, now you want somebody there, don't you? It's like, it's just catch-22, man.
And I heard that guy, if I'm thinking of the same video, it was like a Hispanic guy, right?
I don't remember. I think so. Yeah.
If it's the same video,
probably.
That guy ended up getting arrested. Like,
did he really? Because he had a chainsaw on the streets.
Like people are talking trash about law enforcement and stuff. Well, guess what? They're still going to be there. If you feel like your life is in danger, they're going to go and they're going to handle it. Like, even if this guy wasn't going to do anything with the chainsaw, they went and arrested him. And
he can't be running the streets with a chainsaw, man. That's just you can't do that.
No matter what, no matter how much trash you talk, how much you spit on the name of law enforcement, like they don't understand that we're still going to be there. You're going to call me, like, cool, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Even though you just talk trash. When I was deployed at one of the protests, like, heard so much trash being talked, so much.
Yeah.
And then there was an incident where I guess the Black Lives Matter side felt threatened, and then like your situation that you just described, like they're like, hey, what, like, can you guys get these guys out of here, please? Like, blah, blah, blah. And like, yes, like we will. Like, even though you were just talking a lot of trash about us, we're still going to do our job and we'll get them out of there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You know, and that's something that we are actually getting, even with our little pause there, we're getting close to an hour, so I won't keep you too long, unless there's anything we want to get to. But one thing, man, I was listening to, I was watching. I remember I was watching when the protests first started happening, especially in Long Beach, because I have a lot of friends and family in Long Beach, and I was looking at it, and there was this one person who was posting on Instagram. They literally essentially live streamed their whole day through Instagram stories, and it was really interesting to watch because I remember I was watching at first, and it was like she was out there and she was posting all this stuff about their protests. They're just going down the street, super peaceful. They all have their signs. And they're all being super, super peaceful, you know, shouting their chants and stuff like that, and shouting but you know, doing it the right way, right? They get down towards Pike and Main Street and stuff like that, and 4th Street and stuff like that. They get down there, they meet police, you know, they're holding the line because obviously there's certain areas they just don't want people going into and stuff.
Right, exactly.
And it was crazy because at some point, the officers started coming over the megaphone, like you said, de-escalating certain things, right? They basically were saying, like, you know, hey, we're gonna have to disperse you guys in the next, like, you know, 20 minutes because we just we got to disperse you, whatever. And everyone, and the person recording it was like super, like, what? We're being super peaceful. What's the problem here? Yada yada yada. All this stuff, right? Like all the stuff that you typically hear. And I was even watching, and I was getting a little annoyed. I was like, you know what? Why are they doing that? You know, like from what you could see on all this video, it's super peaceful, right? And it keeps going, and it keeps going, and then eventually, like, they basically say, you know, everyone in that area, in that protest that they were going down towards Main Street, like, you know what? It's not worth the tear gas. It's not worth whatever. We're gonna pop out of here, right? And so they go to leave. And the crazy part is like all this is just to get to. Then she keeps videoing, to her credit. She keeps videoing, and as she's walking back, like 2 blocks away from where she is, it's a freaking war zone, dude. There was a jewelry shop in Long Beach where literally the bars that go across, they pulled them all the way to the ground, to the cement. Like bent them all the way down and smashed out all the windows. It looked like there was nothing ever in there. It was just, and it's one of those things where it's like, to her credit, she filmed the whole thing front to back, which I thought was cool. And the cool thing about Long Beach, there was a lot of people, citizens, where they saw somebody doing something, they said something, got in the way, did what they had, you know, they were trying to take care of their own city, which I thought was cool. But what people don't realize is that you all might be trying to disperse one area because there's something kicking off a block away. And you guys are getting intel that other people aren't having.
Right. Exactly, and that's what people don't understand is there is method to our madness. You know what I'm saying? It might look like, man, it's so crazy, you guys aren't doing anything, but it's like, you don't know that. We have to hold a certain area because we have to create a border. Right. And then that's where we have to hold the line. Because you only have so much people. Stuff is going on within where we created a border, we're making sure that it doesn't spread to other stuff. There's going to be collateral damage, like you said. Unfortunately, like, think of this, dude. Okay, so when COVID happened, before all these riots happened, jails and prisons population was decreasing because people were getting released with the whole COVID-19 thing because they didn't want anything to spread within the jails. Yeah, that was nuts, prisons and stuff like that. So, yes, we got ordered to not really make arrests unless it was absolutely necessary to make that arrest if someone was killing someone, I don't know, something. Right. So unless we specifically had to
it's parameters,
make an arrest, then we would. Yeah. Because we weren't allowed to increase the population in jail. So we have the jails all these guys being released and stuff. And then all of a sudden now all the protests come, all the looters come. We still have that order to not arrest people unless someone's absolutely, because imagine if we arrested every single person that was looting and we tried to do that. Yeah. Then it would just bring the prison jail population right back up. And guess what? People would be upset with that. So you can't win. You really can't win.
It really is a lose-lose for you guys.
When it looks like police officers aren't doing anything, it's because we're trying to prevent a larger
so many moving
outcome.
parts. Yeah. I didn't even think about that angle on it, man. That's just
dude. It's like I said, man. You can't win in this in this world. Law enforcement really can't. Like, if you do something, you did what they say. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many angles that you guys have to think about constantly. And like, I didn't even think about the whole COVID thing being an issue with arrests. Like, obviously you see, like, the headlines are when somebody gets released, but I never thought about the fact that, like, obviously if they're releasing people, they're probably telling people, like, hey, unless it's like a major thing, you know.
No, that's what we were told. We were told, hey, a murder, like, absolutely. Like, if someone assaulted someone, like, absolutely. Well, not even like assault, because sometimes you can verbally assault someone. You're not going to take them to jail, but just, it depends on the situation. If it's severe, that guy is going to jail.
Sure.
If it's something like, I don't know, kids out when there is a curfew or something, like, you're not gonna. Yeah. It's just not gonna.
Like, go home, kid. Yeah.
It's
not gonna be. Yeah.
Go home. But people are still getting upset at that, and dude, we literally were told, just kind of, even to respond, if you talk to them on the phone, take the report from the phone. If you don't have to be in front of them, take the report on the phone, and don't physically respond.
Yeah.
That's how it was, like, COVID stuff. And we're still technically in the COVID epidemic, pandemic, whatever. Yeah. And people don't understand, like, people are now committing crimes, literally being broadcast on social media and stuff, and seeing us not do anything, but we can't. We're following orders.
Right.
Law enforcement is like,
it's chain of command.
It's the symptom of something that's bigger. And if that means, like, our leadership, there's something wrong with our leadership, we're just following orders, man. Like, give us a policy, we're going to follow it. Like, I told you our recent policy to no longer use the carotid control technique.
Yeah.
We're not going to use it anymore, because if we do, that's my job.
Yeah.
And my job pays for my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's your career at this point. Yeah.
And I don't want to lose my job. So guess what? I'm going to follow that policy.
Yeah.
Give us new policies. Even if I don't agree with it, guess what? I'm going to follow that policy. If I don't like it, then I can leave.
Yeah.
So what people don't understand, it goes way above law enforcement, but law enforcement right now is getting the hit. It's taking the hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's a big thing. Like, if you want change, obviously it's corny but true. It's like, you got to vote it in. You got to do it through the right means. And I don't think there's
like, if you want to protest, cool. Let's make it a peaceful protest where
100%.
Thousands of people are walking the street, because people are going to notice that.
Yeah.
People are going to notice that, and people will bring change. And you get people who take advantage and seize the moment and commit crime.
And I guess it's the other side of that coin too, right? Like you were saying, one bad cop ruins the bunch, right? And then it's like one bad looter or protester ruins the bunch of protesters, because it's like it's just the sheer number of watching these people walk down the road. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Again, this is why I don't do what you do, but, like, my heart would be freaking pounding. The amount of people you see come down and most of them are peaceful, but, like, just the sheer number of faces you're seeing go by you and not knowing which one's going to be the one that pops off. It's like, I literally cannot imagine. So
there was, when I was holding the line, there was 80 people, dude. People with ski masks and stuff that were hiding their whole mask. And you tend to watch those people a little more. You start looking at waistbands. You start looking at pockets where they can possibly hide a weapon. And then there was these two guys that I was like, I'm not getting a good feeling from these guys. So I let one of the local law enforcement officers that the city we were in know, and they had the helicopter watching those guys. But the whole time, dude, I'm watching it, and I'm not going to lie, my hand was on my gun, because guess what? It's going to be my life that gets to go home before yours. Yeah. And it's that thought too, that just, like you said, maybe they didn't have anything. Like,
yeah,
but unfortunately, sometimes you do have to profile, dude, because the people that you deal with on a daily,
yeah,
there's a type.
yeah,
There's a type.
yeah,
And pedophiles, sometimes you can't pinpoint them because they're kind of, they kind of look like they blend into everyone. But
sure.
as far as gang members, dude, there's a type. Tattoos, baggy pants, certain colors. Like,
well, there's also just like straight up tattoos that like will tell you what person they're affiliated with. I mean, like there's,
absolutely.
And I'm sure
there are tattoos that you can tell, like, okay, that guy got tattooed in prison.
Yeah, that's prison tattoo. That's gang related.
You can just tell with experience, training.
Yeah.
You start pinpointing those things out. That's what you start looking out for. These two dudes look super shady.
For sure.
They were standing in a way where they were like hiding their waistbands, hiding behind people, kept mad dogging us. And I just kept my eyes open, dude. But again, it's that thought that like, okay, am I about to be shot at? Like,
yeah. When and if this is gonna pop off? Yeah.
Yeah, and it messes with you. It really does. Yeah. Every single day when you put on the uniform and you wear the badge, you're a target. And it's very unfortunate because a large population of law enforcement officers are in it for the right reasons. They really are. But now I'm grouped into a racist, a corrupt cop, a pig. That one's and you know me, dude. Like my brother-in-law is black.
Yeah.
My nephew, my niece, half black.
You're Hispanic.
I'm Mexican, dude. Like,
trust me. It's not lost.
It's like I consider Hispanics to almost be like it's nothing compared to what black Americans went through in during slavery.
Yeah.
But I almost consider Hispanics these days, dude, to be like modern day slaves because they work jobs for low minimum wage, almost close to nothing. They're out there in the fields picking stuff. They're told to go back home. Just the way that they're treated, dude, is
No, it's an interesting point, an interesting way to look at it. I mean, it's like, honestly, my dad deals with a lot of people who are legal or whatever, come here,
right? And
it's like, it's hard, man. It's hard to tell somebody who just wants a better life for their family, to all these things. But like you said, like they just the bottom of the barrel. They get the worst things, the worst jobs, treated the worst ways, and honestly, at the drop of a hat,
they live in poverty. They have I don't know 100%. How many jobs. Like they're struggling, but they still like. That's why they came here, so they can survive in a better country.
Yeah, man. It's just the thing, and the thing is, like you said, like there's no way to compare it because nothing's apples to apples. I mean, there's just nothing there's nothing like what happened to that community. I mean, there's just no way to. And but it's same on the other end too. I mean, it's like, there's nothing like the Hispanic community. There's nothing like the Asian community. I mean, they're all unique, and it's so weird, dude. Because I feel like the biggest thing with all of this, and I hope that I was hoping we would have a little bit more of this, especially with COVID and things like that, is that just we're all on the same team, man. Like we're all on the same stupid rock. Like it's so crazy. We're all on the same rock, floating through space, having no idea where we're going, and it's just And then like beyond just obviously there's the United States. I have a lot of pride in being an American. But like even just beyond that, it's like we're all on the same team, dude. We should
human race, man. Like, God, I just wish I wish we could live in a world of peace. But going back to what I said earlier, unfortunately there's just evil.
There's realities that have to be dealt with.
And it's not going away.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately not going away. And we just have to educate ourselves. We have to train ourselves. We have to be aware of things around us, and the more we teach about it, I think the better we'll be able to handle situations. Same thing with our kids. Like if we teach our kids about it, when they encounter it, they're not going to be surprised. They're going to be like, okay, I get it. Like learned about this. dude, I've been called all sorts of names during this career. I've been called like, really?
That's
Okay.
crazy.
And it's like, okay, cool. Like, Beaner for sure.
Yeah.
People think I'm Middle Eastern, so they'll call me like
Whatever
Sand Monkey.
slur they can find. Yeah.
But because I know and I'm aware that evil exists, this racism exists.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to brush it off because it's like, well, whatever. Like, cool. It's not
Yeah.
physically hurting me.
Yeah, you're not taking it personal. Well, I imagine it's hard not to, but you're not taking it personal. You know, when people are throwing things at you, because you've seen worse. That's a terrible way to put it, but it's like
seen worse, heard worse.
Yeah, man.
It's,
dude, well, I don't want to keep you too much longer on your day off. I appreciate you coming and talking to me. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or get to before we?
If I can say something, like,
please,
before we end it, I just want to really, really encourage people to take the opportunity to either go on a ride along and experience what we experience on a daily. You're just gonna experience it for a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
Once you experience that, you'll see that they experience it on a daily for their career.
Yeah.
Sometimes things might happen on the shift. Sometimes things might not. But I highly encourage to get involved with your local law enforcement. That's what community-oriented policing is about, is to make sure the community and law enforcement work together. Instead of having the mentality like, oh, I see something bad, but it's not my job to say something or do something.
Yeah.
It's cops' job. No, that is the wrong mentality.
Yeah.
It is your job to say something and do something about it, and we're going to go and respond as well to help out in any way that we can.
Yeah.
But I encourage people to go on a ride-along and experience what we experienced. Also, there are lots of like schools, training academies, like for firearms and stuff, that have like a class that will put you in a virtual situation of a shoot, don't shoot scenario.
Oh, wow.
So that way you can, dude, I took it.
Yeah.
And you feel the stress. This was before I was a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
But you feel the stress of actually being like in a situation where, oh my gosh, do I shoot? Do I not shoot?
Yeah.
And please go do something like that, because you will feel what we feel, and you're not even there. It's a video game, virtual, then, whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine when you're there,
the
stress and thoughts that run through your mind that you have to make those split-second decisions. So that'll help a lot, dude, to actually feel and experience what law enforcement officers go through every single day.
Yeah.
Because you will be educated and you will understand a little bit more. Don't be afraid to talk to law enforcement officers if you have questions or whatever.
Yeah.
If you had a bad situation, report it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you had a disrespectful officer, report it. So then that way their superiors know about it and they can document it and hold us accountable.
Yeah.
Keep recording.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So then that way, another way that you can hold law enforcement officers accountable.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're in a safe distance. Don't impede in an investigation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If an officer tells you to step back a little bit, just step back.
Yeah.
If they tell you to turn your camera off, you don't have to turn your camera off. You can keep recording. And yeah, dude, that's kind of the last little tips that I wanted to say.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that's massive, man. I mean, the biggest thing that I caught from that is, you know, we're supposed to all be on the same team. And I think most of us are. I think just a healthy reminder of that. And then on top of everything else you were saying too, with the ride along and everything else, it's just another one is just a healthy dose of empathy for both sides. Like you were even saying earlier, like you want to protest, you're for it, you know, like do it peacefully, go out there, it's your right, just like a Second Amendment right, just like any other amendment rights. Like you're for it, we're all on the same team, and yeah, man, I think that's really the biggest thing. I'm glad you said all that stuff, and Dude, I appreciate you coming on. I think it was, personally, I learned a lot, and most people have something. I will say most people who come on here and I interview have something to peddle, and you just came on here just to give your time and talk and just have an honest conversation about where you feel the world's at. So I really appreciate that too, because it's
absolutely, man. Anytime. Just another thing I want to just say is just if everyone treats everyone with respect, like you'll see a massive difference. So just respect everyone, respect their beliefs, even if you disagree with it. There's respect it.
Yeah.
You know?
It should be all love at the end of the day, man. It's
all love, man.
Yeah. I feel like this world, and this is my own tidbit at the end, but I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I feel so much of this world, it's like we're moving towards this like secular, like away from organized things that like everyone wants to talk crap on like certain types of religions or whatever, but I just feel like, one of the things we're missing the most in this world is just caring for people and love and just
there's a
true
division
empathy
that's being created.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm wearing it on my hat right here, man. It's just like it's love, man, at the end of the day. And it's just like,
right,
if you have that empathy and love for people and hope that most people are going to come from a good place, I think that's going to help a lot.
Yeah. And if not, that's where
you guys come in. Yeah.
Guys like us step in and make sure that you still have that ability to feel that love and feel that safety. And so yeah, dude,
I would love to have you on again. I totally forgot about the entire your whole background in some of the prison system and stuff like that. I would love to talk to you about that.
Let's do it.
Obviously there's a little bit more pressing issues right now, but
right.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and just thank you again, and thank you for everything you've been doing every day, and thank your From Once More with Feeling podcast. Thank all your brothers and sisters out there on the line too. I appreciate that, man.
Well, I appreciate you having me on and letting me, I guess, express and inform people on the law enforcement side. I hate always saying like there's sides. I wish
there
weren't any, but just the way it is, I guess, these days. But I appreciate you, man, letting me
100%
letting me on and talking to me,
dude. Thank you. We'll end the podcast here, but I'll I'll just wrap it up with you so we can get everything going. But thanks, man.
Once more with Rene. Try that again.